Happy Sunday, everyone. And I'm talking to some of you because you're all in a business group with us where there are multiple coaches within this group. But I'd like to share something today about problem solving. And I'd like to share some of my thoughts on why Facebook is not always helping us get the information we need, and it's partially how we present ourselves. So let me back up and explain. So many of us belong to multiple groups. Many of us belong to multiple chats. And many of us find a lot of resources in these groups to find our answers. However, in the many years that I've run businesses, and one of them being we constantly had emergencies. So we had to get to the point right away. We didn't have a chance to wonder why something happened. We had to resolve it. And so out of those experiences, I've evolved a few things that I find that I'd like to share that might help each of us get more efficient with our communications and get what we need resolved sooner rather than later. So if this shoe fits for you, fine. If this makes sense to you already, then fine. This is just something to help us all in right now, the one big project we're in, which is 5 billion sales, get very, very comfortable with changes, with updates, with new technologies, with not understanding why an action was taken, but kind of probing around it to say, what were the possibilities of why this is behaving this way, why this is happening, why are some people getting emails and others are not? Because when you figure they're dealing with over 3 million people, there's a lot of things that have to cycle through in an order. Do we know what that order is? No, we don't know what that order is. This is artificial intelligence. It probably has to do with dates, with timing, with when you came into the business. It's multifactored. But in general, I want to give you an overview here today and think about it. If you see yourself as someone who's going to be making over 500,000 next year, and I believe all of you should be doing that are running ads, then what do you need to get in place instead of complaining about a system that's not working the way you want it to right now? If everyone has ads in play and they're still continuing, you're in a pretty big game. You're in a fun game. And technology intimidates a lot of us. Good morning. A lot of technology intimidates many of us, but if you put on your analytical hat, and I know you all have one, you just hide out sometimes, you don't show us. So I'm going to poke you to find your analytical brain. You have to think, wonder why they made that change. Wonder how this change is going to help my business. Wonder how. That's a much more fun conversation to have. So here's some suggestions I have for you. First of all, do you see yourself as a problem solver? And I mean seriously, meaning we have a lot of options when something blows up. Hey, I cracked my ribs a week ago. Whew, talk about getting upset all week because of things that didn't work right, or my energy levels were low, or whatever else. But I really didn't want to vent about it because I caused it. I just needed to keep going and finding solutions. So I found them with my chiropractor. And I still may not be out of the woods yet, so I'm going to have to go do something else next week. But I know all my solutions that are still out in front of me to take next steps. So it's the same thing for all of you. So let's just say somebody else's ad gets ahead of yours. Do you complain about that or say, why is this happening in the group where really we all started in the business at the same time? No one person is going to know any more than the rest of us. We're all in a team here right now. Maybe you come out and say, this occurred to me. Has this occurred for anybody else? One of the first things you want to do when you're solving problems is find the patterns, find the behavioral patterns. So in systems, when they break down, you go, the last time I used it, it did steps 1 through 8. This time it stopped and got hung up on step 6. So when you begin to think analytically, either about 5 billion sales or any system that you're working on, you actually help the people who are trying to help you pinpoint where they need to start. Otherwise, the person you ask for help has to go back and ask 10 qualifying questions, maybe 8, maybe 6, in order to find out what really happened, what stage are you in. So in nowadays, when we're talking technology and somebody just comes in and said, this didn't work, I wonder what, or why didn't this work, or this didn't work for me, the question I would have is, are you asking me to solve something? If so, what is it that you feel you need solved? What have you already tried? What helped what you did? Or where did you get stuck? See, when we talk in big paintbrush strokes, we aren't helping anybody help us solve a problem. Sometimes we throw things out on Messenger and we're just venting. But that breaks down the communication system, which really venting needs to happen. And then, my recommendation is go vent to the dog and then ask us a question in the chats and in the groups. So here's some questions that you might want to ask. And I know that some of you, you do this really, really well, but I want to show you how to get into a smoother life here. So one of the things you want to say is, here's what I tried, here's what occurred, and here's still what I don't know, and here's what I'm thinking of trying. Then the person who wants to step in and help you, whether that's your coach or one of your team members, they've got a lot of clarity around how to just come in, help you get out. Otherwise, we're just really sitting here muddling around in a mud puddle. So one of the other things that's frustrating is we know that 5 billion sales is making a lot of changes. And somebody says, well, why did this happen to them and not to me? Or why did it happen to me and not to them? Well, nobody's ever going to be able to answer that question fully. My biggest recommendation for you is that you get into Gloria's meetings on Wednesday, because she has a personal meeting every week where she gets these things figured out. And that's one thing. And then if you do have a problem, before you go into a chat group, my suggestion is you all go into Gloria's group, the bigger group, because that's where I get my information from, and say, has anyone had this problem? If so, what was your solution? Because otherwise, when you come into all these groups, everybody's going to say, oh, just toss it to support. So you're not helping any of us be powerful to help you if you don't come in and get really, really clear about what you need. Please be really, really clear about what you need. And then we can all take the time to just pop in, help you for 60 seconds and get out, because we're all busy people, right? I think all of you have to agree you're very, very busy people. So I would like to suggest that if you're all going to be even millionaires next year, that you start putting a new hat on. Got my hat right there. See it? Got my new hat. Okay, put a new hat on. Get yourself in the position to say, how would someone do this? How would a millionaire do this? How would whatever's going to work for you? How would Stacy do this? How would Marla do this? How would Carla do this? How would Kim do this? How would Lindsay do this? Whoever it is, get out there and start thinking, how would they ask this question? And I'll bet you if you start listening to them, they ask questions in the mindset of, okay, this has to be resolved. I don't have time to bitch about it. What I want to do is I want to find out what everybody else has done. So I'm going to ask, has anyone else had this problem? And then 2, I'm going to go to, if so, did you find a solution? Would you mind explaining that solution to me if they don't step in and do that? So take charge. Take charge, because all of us are on a learning curve. We're on the same learning curve. We want to help. I know that everybody in this group wants to help. The thing is, we have to have information in order to help. So this is the same information you would use if you were coaching someone. So get people to talk. What have you tried? What have you thought of? Go back to the people who've had the problem. Say, what did you find? What worked for you? And it still may not work for you, but at least you're going through the process of elimination, which is what all analytical processes do, to finally tune in to what it's done, what is happening and what you might need to do. Support's always easy, but we know that support right now gets very, very busy. So my first suggestion to you is shift the way you ask for help. Shift the way you ask for help by asking questions and say, I have this occurring. Has anybody else had this problem? If so, what was your solution? And see if you can get a really, really big picture of what it is you might want to do next. And I hope this was helpful. And if the shoe fits, like you needed this help today, then I hope you can put it into play. If not, I'm just here to help our group be one of the groups that really creates a lot of leaders. We already have a lot in here, but the best thing for all of us to do when it comes to leading is to be good problem solvers or coach people into how to solving their own problem, because that is how we will be able to grow our teams and go beyond. And if any of you are not taking the class with Sue Henry on Wednesdays about how to manage your newfound wealth, I highly recommend you start going to that side of the equation and start looking at how are you going to manage what's coming in. Because there's a lot of you here running ads that are going to generate some membership. Do you already have your campaigns up and running and ready for when you start seeing people show up? For those of you who have the free or the paid memberships, do you have a campaign ready to help all of those people that choose free to move into paid membership? There are so many projects going on out there that for us to nitpick at what's going on in 5 billion sales right now, the simplest way to do it is to read your emails every day, open up 5 billion sales, read those messages, see what they say, see if there's something you need to do. If simple things fall out, like it seems to be deleting something, it doesn't allow you to enter something, those are the great situations to go back out to Gloria's group and say, I had this occur. Did this happen to anyone else? Did you have a resolution? If so, what was that? So you are all problem solvers, but I'm offering this to you today so that you can all become more consistent problem solvers. I will talk to you later. We'll see you in Gloria's meeting on Wednesdays. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.